Hello again, art friends. I'm back again working in my little freeform cut paper collage booklet. And I thought I would do another little quick collage. In this one, I'm going to use more square and triangular geometric forms and see what I can do with those. All right, so the first thing you want to do is get your glue stick, get a pair of scissors, cut out all your papers. I have a bunch of different ones here. I decided to add some of this shiny orange from this is actually a candy wrapper. And I cut more pieces that were much more angular and harder edged. So I'm going to see what I can do with those. Now this is probably the largest piece, so I'll probably start with that. I also have that piece, which is kind of about the same size, maybe a little smaller. So I kind of like, again, since most of these pieces are angled, I may actually start at a diagonal here and see what I can do with the pieces. This one actually doesn't have the hard edge, so maybe I'll take that out. Here was a middle for that. Here was the other one that I did an extra cutout of. I have some orange triangular pieces. Maybe that just sits over the top of that one. There really is no rules as far as overlapping or not overlapping. Really, you just want to start putting pieces in where they feel like the composition is starting to come together. So I have these other green pieces. And I think I'm going to move this down just a little bit. I don't want that like quite right in the middle. So I want to kind of mirror that green somewhere else. Maybe that goes up here. And then I have this blue, so I have a lot of these triangular pieces. And, you know, I can cut these down if I need to make them smaller. And I have some of these papers that I made these were from stencils. So they have some sort of diagonals on them as well. I have this piece which isn't exactly all angles, but it is kind of interesting. Maybe this will fit in here somehow. I have that orange, so I probably want to add another orange piece here somewhere. Maybe there to sort of connect those. I also have this little piece that looks like a mountain. So I'm just really starting to just kind of place stuff in here. And then when I get a chance to sort of look at it, I'll start moving things around to really create a much better composition. Is that too many squares right there? Maybe. Kind of like that. I'm thinking about, you know, kind of an L-shaped composition. And I have this dark blue piece. Maybe this comes down and that runs through there. Maybe that piece doesn't work there. I have this little piece that mimics some of the teal in there. Now, this triangle that I cut here doesn't have all the same angles as this is, because I cut it at more of a slant, and that's okay. So it's not like it's on a grid where it's going to fit in here perfectly, but I think that's okay. Maybe that little piece goes in there. So now I probably want to add some more of that orange color. Maybe across the middle there. And it could be offset a little bit. I almost like the composition just as it is. I'm not sure about that piece. Again, you don't have to fill this up with a ton of pieces. You know, just work on it until it feels balanced to you. I do kind of like that triangle up there. I don't have another color of it. I think that's too much teal. I like this piece, but it doesn't, because it's got a curve, it's not really quite the right fit. I think I want to get some more blue in, but this piece might be too large. So I'm going to trim it down a bit. No, that one definitely fits better there. So I'm kind of also evenly spacing them out. And that's just, again, that's something I normally do. It's just kind of how I look at things. Coming from a graphic design background, when I design compositionally, I kind of have structures to things. And then ends up being a little bit more like gaps between things, because I like that white space, but it definitely does not have to have that white space left. Here's this little arrow here. Maybe that goes down at the end of that. Maybe underneath there. So now I've kind of mimicked the yellow, although I feel like, or the orange, I feel like I need a little, maybe a little piece down here. Sort of balance that out. Again, there's sort of that triangular color thing, right? Triangular color thing with the teal. Do I want to add another little piece of orange here? I think not. I think maybe what I'll do is pull this down and add a little piece up there. Again, I've kind of got that sort of triangular spread of that color throughout the piece. Now I have this little blue piece down here, which is kind of floating by itself, although I do have this piece here, and I don't have another piece like that. So, I don't know if I need another blue piece. Maybe I could swap this out to blue. Or double it like I did there, right? Kind of doubling up over the triangles. That's a kind of a pattern that's starting. And I do feel like I need a green, like this green color up here somewhere. Now this may not be the right piece. It may not be the right shape. I may have to cut it down. So I think what I'll do is cut this off. look better? Square? Yeah, I think the square piece probably works better. I think I want that blue to be more prominent. And I think what I will do with this one is actually cut it in half and maybe run it this way. So we have a very strong diagonal going, which is great. I could also turn them this way. I think that would work as well. And they could even be offset. So now I've got sort of this green and this green sort of balancing out. Even though this is a big green, I've covered up a bunch of it. So having these pieces here I think is okay. Again, I could add one more if I think it's not enough. Or I have this piece I could just cut a little bit bigger. Stripes. To fill in that gap a little bit more. So I think this is probably too busy. So I think I either need to leave that or I need to leave that. Now the thing I don't like about that is that the angles don't really match. Now I could cut that. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there. And maybe I can add this little blue piece in somewhere, kind of on the opposite side over here. There really isn't a lot of places to put it. All right, I think that will work. It just sort of pops your eye from that color to that color because you want to kind of see similar colors. All right, so let's get these glued down. All right, I'm going to just do the back edge there because I want to tuck this one under. Okay, and then I think I need to place the big one in because that's really the centerpiece and it kind of sets the location for all the other pieces. And it goes pretty quick. But it's really spending the time to make sure that you get pieces where you want them from a compositional standpoint. And again, I have, a little bit of a different angle here and here, and that's okay. If you want to do this more precise, like on a grid, then probably what you would need to do is make sure that you cut all of your angles so that like things are all either all square or all like 30, 60, or 45 degrees. But for me, for these little collages, I don't worry about that so much. It's really more just playing with shapes and creating a composition that I think is at least balanced. I think we're pretty close. Oh, I need to add these pieces on. And put this one on. And my little triangle here. Okay, so I think this is pretty much done, except for that one little errant piece there that I have to decide if I want to add or not. I do think I want to add some up here. It's just a question of finding the right location and the right piece. Maybe a double. Yeah, I kind of like that because now it connects this in here also a little bit. Again, the angles aren't perfect, but I think it's okay. And we're done. These don't have to be complicated. If you get overwhelmed, just limit the amount of pieces you have. Just cut a bunch of pieces, pull some, and those are the ones you have to use, and just try to make them work. Sometimes just limiting the pieces will also help as well. And you'll see I've got some nice white space on both edges up here. Okay, things aren't completely covered the page, things aren't super overlapped in this particular one, and that's okay. Really what I'm just trying to do is visually get things balanced, so when I look at it, one side doesn't feel heavy, or it's got different size shapes and not everything's the same, that I've got my colors sort of distributed, right? All of those things will help with the composition of the collage. And just keep it simple and have fun. That's the most important thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.